So, hello, welcome. Thank you for attending my message of what is community engineering. I am Kim Crayton, and I'm going to tell you I did not give myself that title. Someone at a closure conference gave me that title. You can find me at Kim Crayton1 on Twitter, as well as Community Engineering Report, which is my new podcast, where we have honest and frank conversations about inclusion and diversity from an economic and business perspective, as well as KimCrayton.com, which I'm rebuilding now. I have to put my credentials up here, and I realize this is also when we're talking about inclusion and diversity and how different things are. Two white men at the conference I was at recently said, "Wow, this is amazing. You have to put your credentials on here." I have nothing and no one ever asks. I'm like, wow, our worlds are just completely different. Because I know as a black woman from the south of Georgia in the United States, if I don't put my credentials up there, someone in the audience will say, who is she and why am I listening to her? So I have a master's degree in training and development. I have worked with learners of all ages, all abilities. I've taught high school. So nothing people say to me can really stun me or upset me because I've heard it all. I am a certified special needs teacher, so I've worked with people with mild intellectual disabilities, as well as people on the spectrum. I am currently pursuing a doctor's of business administration, specializing in technology entrepreneurship. I finished all my coursework, and right now I'm working on my proposal to start my research, and it's on successful strategies for increasing organizational knowledge sharing. And I have a blog post that I wrote, how to leverage organizational culture for competitive advantage, that I'm turning into a book, that I'm writing a book. So that's who I am. Just to let you know that I have years of experience managing relationships, managing communities, managing cultures. So before I get started on what community engineering is, just recently, I don't think a day goes by that you don't open our favorite app, Twitter, and find some community or culture that has blown up. Somebody has done something that has derailed everything that people have been working hard for. And it takes the focus off whatever their business or their service or their community has been doing and focuses on these negative things. So, when I was at Closure West, I spoke at Closure West, I convened a panel on how to get more people into closure specifically, and how to get more underrepresented people, how to get more people in technology specifically, and how to get more people in the closure. That was general specific. Okay, and so because when you walk into a closure conference, it looks a lot like this to me, because I was having a conversation with some people yesterday in the speaker's room. To me, inclusion and diversity is not just about race and gender. It's about all those other things. So I look at this room, or I walk around Germany, and I don't see many people like myself. I just be honest. So when we're talking about inclusion and diversity, it's going to look different in different places. Because unless you're going to go recruit a whole bunch of people of color, it's going to be hard for you to do the ethnicity thing. So you need to keep those things in mind. So I was having this conversation, and someone said, "Kim, we are software engineers. You are a community engineer." Okay, so I'm a researcher, so I decided, let me look these words up, because they sounded good, but let me look words up and see if I like them. And so I like the community thing. I can vibe with that, because to me, community is the heart, the HEART stuff that we do. So it is our mission, our vision, our values, the things that we're passionate about, the things that get us up in the morning when we're tired, those things. One reason a lot of those things fail is because they can't be operationalized, which is the engineering part. So you may have values on your website about what you believe in, but how do you operationalize that? What do your community constituents, whether your clients, how can they know, what can they say that this says that they've translated these words into something actionable? Because they mean absolutely nothing they're just words on a page if no one can articulate what they are or demonstrate how they are in action. So I liked community engineer. I was like, yeah, I like that title. And so what is community engineering? For me, this is my definition, because now I've seen, like you really want a car, and until you really want a car, you never see that car, but then when you see that car, when you want a car, you see everybody has that car. So I'm seeing a lot of people with this title now. And I was like, okay, I know probably no one made it up. I didn't make it up. But does everybody have the same definition? Again, I believe in words. If everybody starts at the same definition, then I can hold you accountable to what you agreed upon. So this is how I define community engineering. It is the intentional and skillful effort of creating environments which support the sharing of common attitudes, interests, and goals in order to grow a more inclusive and diverse technology community. And I focus specifically on technology, because I believe, as you know, technology, we are the pioneers. We make shit happen. We are making up stuff as we go. Somebody says, hey, I want to blah, blah, blah. Somebody will let's figure it out. Let's Google it. We are just the people who make stuff happen. So I believe that once technology industry, we figure out this inclusion and diversity thing, other industries and other communities are going to have to follow, because the doctors or nurses are going to be like, hey, those technology people figure this out. Why am I working 80-hour days? 80-hour weeks. This doesn't make sense. This is an unsafe, unhealthy work environment. These technology guys, look at, they don't even have to wear suits. What in the hell is this? They're in jumpers. They go to things and they wear rompers all over the place. We are just the stuff. They're really gonna be, we are gonna be the people, the pioneers of how to do this well. So why community engineering? Since technology literally touches everything, there is no industry, and raise your hand, because if you can think of an industry that technology does not touch in some way. Since technology touches everything, we need to be more inclusive. This playground is not just for the guy who just sits in the corner and mumbles when people give him, that doesn't happen anymore. You need to be able to work on teams. You need to be able to work on diverse teams. You need to be able to work on inclusive teams. You need to be able to, we are a global marketplace, so you need to be able to create products and services that appeal to people unlike yourselves. So we need to focus on recruiting other people into our communities. But a lot of people don't know how to do this well. So it backfires. So here are some things that often stand in the way of, some major assumptions that people have. They know who we are, they know what we do, and they'll figure it out. So they know who we are. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what Ruhr is. I don't know if it's a city or it was on paper-call.io. I sat down every Sunday, did at least 10 paper CFPs, and whatever fell out of that, I was happy. Because I have a very broad subject matter. I talk about inclusion, diversity, mentoring, networking, those things that everybody needs. So I'm not technology specific. I'm not language specific. So somebody really tell me, what does RUHR stand for? Is it a city? Oh, nobody.
It's a river and also the area around the river.
Thank you. All right. So that was a lesson for me. Teachable moment. So, but just to say that people assume, oh, they know who we are. No, we don't. People live their own lives. People are, just like you're self-absorbed, so are other people. They don't know who you are. And if it's not in something that they're familiar with or they're comfortable with, they don't know who you are. Honestly, when I got into tech 3 years ago, I went to my first JavaScript conference because I was black and female and they gave me a free ticket. I didn't know what JavaScript was. I was just sitting there like, this is so far over my head, but I got some shit for free, so I'm gonna deal with it. Because in education, I never got anything for free. Oh my God, you never get anything for free. There's a whole bunch of black women in that thing. We never get anything. So I was just taking stuff. So people just assume no one knows who you are. All right? Just make that assumption. Even if you think that, just assume they don't know who you are, and you have to do some kind of something, marketing, something, so they know who you are. Next, they know what we do. No, they don't. So many people entering tech now have no idea I call this the Wild West. This is the only industry where there is no clear career path. You can be a taxidermist today and wake up tomorrow and say you want to be a developer, and you can figure it out. Can't do that in medicine. Can't do that to be an attorney. Well, if you could, I wouldn't want to go to you. That would be very interesting. Well, at least you know how to cut things up. But that's a whole different thing. You're taking stuff out and stuffing stuff in. So no, that's not going to work. So you have to educate people. And that means going into their communities. Let me say this, and I have not said this before. You're going to have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're going to have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm going to say that again because people don't get it. Keon, this is hard. Yes, it is. You have to get used to being comfortable with being uncomfortable. There are many times I want to tell people to shut the hell up. But would that get me anywhere? Would that not stop the dialogue? No, I have to, because I've learned how to be an active listener and all these other things, manage my relationships. I listen and try to find like that one grain of something that I can continue a conversation with, so I can dig deeper. Because what we usually do is do the surface thing. So they don't know who you are, they don't know where you are, and then they'll figure it out. Again, no, they won't. When you have a baby, the baby's learning to walk, right? Everybody's just like, oh, that's so cute, that's so cute, look at it. And I think that is the dumbest looking thing. Okay, that's just me. Don't have kids, don't like them. So it probably helped that I left education. And so you have these kids, and you're like, come to me, and it's like, and you're like, come to me. They're figuring it out, but it's with your help. You're holding their hand, and they're doing this, and they fall, and you go, oh, isn't that so cute? No, that's just instability. What is that? That's not cute. But they don't figure it out. You help them along. You take their hands, and you do all that stuff until they can stand on their own, and then you scream, hey, get back here, But that's how that works. So these are some challenges to community growth. Not understanding the difference between diversity and inclusion. These are two very separate things, but both are necessary. Diversity is having various perspectives at the table. Inclusion is having those various perspectives at the table, able to put insight. Able to provide input and it be listened to and acted upon. So you can have a very diverse group of people, and then you have one person who makes all the decision. That's not inclusive. So those are the things you need to have both. Not understanding the goals and perspectives of the current communities that are different from yours. All I see is a sea of white people. And then a sea of white people who I don't understand. And that's just the reality. And saying that might make some of you uncomfortable. But so what? That's my reality. And this is what I mean about having these conversations that make us uncomfortable so that we can get beyond them. I didn't say anything was wrong with seeing a sea of white people, and most of you I don't understand. It's just my reality. So how do we bridge that? If that is my reality, how do you come to me? How do you approach me and my community so that I feel inclusive? Because it's not me, it's not my responsibility. You want something from me. It is your responsibility to connect with me, not the other way around. Let's stop being lazy. This stuff takes work. It's hard work. And again, it takes you to come out of your comfort zone. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have some conversations that you wish you did not have or have to have. But once you get through them, they get better. They become normal. Not understanding the importance of putting I am so sick of... You have to pay to do this. Community work isn't easy. It's hard. And you don't, and I'm speaking general, you don't pay for this. When I go to speak at conferences, I mean, some of them act as if I need to be grateful that they paid for me for a flight and accommodations. Well, if I'm here, that means I'm not running my business, I'm not doing my homework, I'm not writing my book. What if your job told you, oh, your direct deposit or however you guys get paid in Germany, it's not in your account? You'd be pretty pissed about that. We need to really reframe this whole free thing. As you know, if you're working on open source isn't free. The code base may be free, but there's a lot of capital that goes into creating great software and services and products. We need to shift with the free thing. And as we know, anything that we put value on things based on how much they cost usually. That is just how we are. It could be one car that's 1,000 euros. I don't think that'll be a great, but okay. But then you have another car, because I'm learning the math, okay? And then you have another car that's 20,000 euros. You're really probably going to go with the 20,000 euro car just because a $1,000 euro car doesn't sound like it has an engine. But that's a whole another story. So we put value on the things that cost us money. Community work needs resources. And we need to, you need to overcome the inherent mistrust that communities like mine have for white people. That's just the truth. Now, again, I'm in another country, but the United States has a history of slavery. It has a history of racism. And until I'm honestly happy that Trump is president, just for this simple fact, for the first time since the 60s, people can stop saying there is no racism in the United States. It is there. It is front and center. We can't hide from it anymore. Let's have conversations about this. So you have to understand when you come into these communities, you're not doing them a favor. You're not coming in as the white knight to save them. You're coming in to partner with them. They are part of your team. And here are some major barriers to community engineering efforts. Lack of expertise. Most people doing community work are either doing it on the volunteer basis or as a part of another job that they do full time. This cannot happen and it be effective. I'm sure this is a JavaScript conference. You've seen what happened in the Node community a month ago. It's because they don't have people in place to manage relationships at that scale. Also, it's because they've been putting off things that they need to deal with because they didn't want to be uncomfortable for 2 years or more. So we know what happens if you start sweeping stuff under a rug. After a while, that pile gets really big and then people start tripping over it. It takes people with skill to do this. People need to be paid to do this. I have to have uncomfortable conversations that take me, just to get up here and speak, I have to go put my headphones on, get in the space, calm myself, do what I need to do. Now think about, and that's just the people who invited me to come. Think about if I have to go have a conversation with somebody who's been a jerk on Twitter and have a conversation about why are you doing that and how that affects the community. That comes with expertise. Everybody can't do that because everybody can't step outside of their own whatever and have a conversation with those people, those kind of individuals, and still have them walk away with dignity. Most people can't empathize with people who have different opinions than them. That's why I don't talk about politics or morals. I come at this from an economic and business perspective because the research shows that you cannot create products for a global market from one or two perspectives. Now, you can argue with that all you want to, but as a former high school teacher, I know that once I give up my power by arguing with you, I've lost the room. So I'm not going to engage you that way. Lack of support. That goes back to the resources. So I keep seeing all these Fortune 500 companies, they have these C-level diversity, inclusion, and all of them are black. It's like as if that's the only person of color, people of color that are out there. But okay, my issue with that is If these people do not have the resources to make change, the support of the organization to make change, and the autonomy to make change, nothing happens. If these individuals have to go back to a CEO or board before they can make any decisions, they are worthless. They need the agency to make change when they see it needs to make change. Again, the lack of authority. You need to be able to, if I used to do a lot of mentoring work. So she mentioned the Tech Talk for non-techies. That blog is shut down. I used to do a website where it's called Junior Dev Mentoring, where we were mentoring junior developers on a Slack and on a website. I shut that down. The reason I these were hard decisions because I realized that to do this work in inclusion and diversity, I need to focus all my attention on this. As well as I also look at my energy spend when I'm thinking about resources. It doesn't seem like it, but I'm an introvert. So I have to think about balancing my, what am I gonna get for the most bang? Pushing up with people who are coming into technology is not working. Even hitting managers, because managers are still siloed, that's not working. I need to talk to executives. If you are not a person who can make the decision to change these things, because culture comes from the top, community development comes from the top, I don't need to talk to you because you're not the person who can make the change, and all that's gonna do is create frustration and burnout for the people who are working. So these decisions have to be supported by the people who have the authority to make these changes. And again, as I said, there needs to be resources. There needs to be resources in time. There needs to be resources in money. There needs to be resources in personnel. There needs to be a whole crap load of resources for these kinds of things. So that is me. I'm Kim Crayton. I'm doing 2 events in 2018. Both of them are inclusion events. One is Inclusion Symposium, because what I've realized is there are people who are working in this space, but we're not connecting with each other. We might see each other on Twitter or whatever, but we need to be in the room together, and we need to do talk and hash stuff out and do research. So this is a 2-day retreat where I'm bringing in people who are doing the community development, work on inclusion and diversity, so we can sit in a room and get to really work together and support each other. Because it's hard, it's like you're a lone wolf out here. You don't have to be. We need to build a community around that. And the other event I'm doing is Inclusion Conf, which is specifically for those executives. It is a 2-day conference where we're going to be telling them how to change and shift their cultures and communities. Because I take the assumption, because I have a belief in life, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? And most of the time I want to be happy. So I assume that the things that are happening now, a lot of it comes from people who just don't know how to do anything better. So what I'm going to do is provide you with the resources to do better. And once you have the resources, what you do from that is your choice. Then you are communicating whether this stuff is important to you. Once you have the information and you don't act on it, that's a communication. That's something you communicated. But if you don't have the information, then I can't hold you accountable for that. So those are the 2 events I'm having. They're both on Twitter. I'm working on websites now. But please reach out if you have questions, if you want to be a part of this movement of making tech this warm, fuzzy, romper-like life we would like it to be. Thank you.